What's up, baby? Welcome to it. Space Talk. We are here in the flesh. Another game, another Steelers victory. So you know I'm loving that. But before we go any further and we start the show like we typically do, I do gotta let you know that today's Space Talk is brought to you by Manscaped, the leaders in below the waistline grooming. So when you talk about, them dangly twins, they like to be, air conditioned the right way. Well, the best way to do that is with Manscaped's Lawnmower 4.0. You definitely don't want to miss out on that thing. Waterproof, light, in, on, off. I mean, it's beautiful. It's a perfect situation, ladies and gentlemen. And I got something better for you. If we're going to talk about Manscaped, I got the promo code. Promo code is Moats. You use that, you get your 20% off along with free shipping worldwide. So don't waste any time, man. And trust me when I tell you, your dangly twins and anybody that interacts with them will be appreciating you, baby. Alrighty. See, we got to do these shout outs now because of all this turnout, man. So salute each and every one of y'all that have been with me on this journey. With that being said, let's start the show how we always do. Go ahead, let me know in the chat where you're tuning in from. I'll give you those big boy shout outs and we'll get this thing rolling. All right. And I see my man Dustin Klein tuning in from the 570 PA, baby. You better believe it. You got Boss Anya, or Una. I say Una. But either way, from Beaufort, South Carolina. Shout out to Beaufort, South Carolina. Jeez, man, I ain't been down there in a minute. Yeah, ain't nothing really going on in Beaufort, but I like you, though. All right, Wendy Johnson tuning in from the 562, Long Beach, California. LBC one time. Rarity Unlimited, the 785. Kansas, baby. Love that. Robert Hostler, on that. The 717 Central PA. Here we go. You better believe it. Here we go. I mean, you saw the game. You saw this preseason. We sitting at 3-0. What is my like? Championship. All right, I might be jumping the gun a little bit, but let me do that today, all right? Read off a couple more of these, and after that, man, we'll go ahead and proceed. Got my man Roscoe Smokes. Salute you. Says Vegas, but he's on the way to West Palm Beach. I like it. Enjoy yourself. John Meister, the 330 Akron, Ohio. Love that. And my man Elijah Boynton is here. The 336 in the house. Let's go. And can't forget you. I see you, Amy Lancaster. What's that? Corinth, Mississippi, the 662. Hey, now, I like it down there. Let's go. All right. And then the last one we'll wrap it up with is my man Robert Martin, the 757, Williamsburg, Virginia. Lawrence Taylor's hometown. You better believe that, man. Anytime we talking about the 757, I always got love. Even for my people over there what we talking about? My goodness, Williamsburg, yeah. AKA home of William and Mary, the tribe, which is where Coach Tomlin went to school at as well. But we don't like them. Go Dukes always. All right. But start this thing out, man. Another win, right? But more importantly, another pretty good performance by these quarterbacks, right? Let's start with my man Mitch. Obviously, the final evaluation played a lot this game, though, right? Played a whole half. Now, this was the most that we've seen from Mitch since joining the Steelers, but I liked it. In terms of the statistics, finished 15 of 19, 160 yards. Obviously had the touchdown pass, 119 quarterback rating, but he was sacked 2 times. But when I think of what Mitch was able to do, I really enjoyed his performance because when you talk about the adversity that he was having to endure early on, I thought obviously that first drive was not good, not for him, but more so for the offensive line. I thought the offensive line really struggled early on. A lot of self-inflicted wounds kind of stalling Mitch's drives. But then after that, you saw him, ultimately put together a couple of drives where they were able to get field goals. And then it was really impressive, that last drive before the half. We hadn't seen him in a 2-minute hurry-up offense situation. We hadn't seen him really in the situational football element just yet. We've obviously seen Kenny 2 times. Once at the end of the first preseason game, and then obviously before halftime of that second game. We liked what we saw from him, and that kind of elevated our feelings about Kenny. Well, some of the things could be said with Mason. We hadn't seen him really until that last game against the Jags. We got a chance to see him have that come from behind last second drive where he was able to get one. So it was like, okay, cool. Context, I get it. But this time you had a chance to see Mitch. And I really was impressed with what he was able to do stretching the field. Obviously, he hits George Pickens. Beautiful shot down the field. And then to come back a couple plays later, get my man Pat Freiermuth involved. I just thought for Mitch, he did a really good job of kind of being that calming presence in the midst of the offensive line really struggling once again. And it's really concerning to me in the sense that not just the whole offensive line was struggling, but that left side was struggling again also. And that was something that I really want to see those guys improve upon, especially Dan Moore. I thought that, last week I said, man, Josh Allen just a bad matchup for him. But this week, I thought this was a matchup that not in terms of the Aiden Hutchinson element, so I wasn't really concerned with Aiden because Aiden's a good player. And I think even though he's young, we've already seen some things from him where you're like, you know what? He has some of those prerequisites. He's already putting that foundation in place where you think you could trust this dude. But when I look at Charles Harris, which was the guy who beat Dan Moore for the actual sack, I was really surprised by that because Charles is a good player without a doubt. But to me, I thought that Dan Moore is or should be to that stage in his career where, he's able to handle those type of guys, man. But it just shows that, they got more room to improve. Across the board, Mason Cole, he was another guy, right? Played pretty good these first two games considering, but, he even struggled at times this week, man. So I thought with all of that being the context for Mitch, to see him be able to overcome that, to see him still be able to stand in the pocket and be that leader, I was really liking that a lot. But then we talk about Kenny. Obviously, coming in, playing that third quarter, essentially. I thought that he did some good things out there. The thing that I definitely liked with him, and I'm starting to see that rapport that he was building, you saw Tyler Vaughns. He was going back to him early. And Tyler, man, he's put together a really impressive preseason, without a doubt. But I was really liking, just how Kenny was coming out there and taking the throws that were there for him. Hitting Tyler Vaughns. The Miles Boykins throw. I did not know Miles had that in his bag. That was filthy. But the ball placement was nice as well. Now, you could critique it if you wanted him to be back shoulder, like how he threw it, or if you want him to throw it a little bit more with air under so Miles could run under it. I get it. But either way, that was a heck of a completion. And when you talk about guys stretching the field this week, we obviously saw Mitch early on with that nice bomb to 38-yarder to Deontay. But you saw Kenny being more intentional in terms of taking his shots down the field. That has been a little bit of the knock in terms of just like when people are critiquing Kenny's performances. A lot of it has come around the line of scrimmage, or it's been a lot of run after catch. When we talk about a Tyler Vaughns and what he was able to do and stuff like that, that first game for Kenny. So now you got a chance to see Kenny actually stretching the field, actually taking some shots. And I do like the fact that he was able to just almost diversify, the type of throws, whether it was something where he had to really cut it and rip it, or he had to put a little more touch on it. I just thought that as a whole, we really got to see a lot of what Kenny was capable of doing. Still a little frustrated that we didn't get to see him with the ones. I would have loved to see him get some type of action in that second quarter, worst case. But, it is what it is. And I can understand it too, because with Mitch, he's the week one starter. So you got to get this guy as prepared as possible. And I thought that, when you're talking about the way this offensive line is playing, to me, yes, Mitch does give you that calming presence. He showed that again today. The elusibility, the keeping the eyes down the field, the toughness. That's what you want. So to me, man, I'm just like, I'm ready to roll with Mitch, man, week one, and we'll see how it goes. We know when it comes to Kenny, a lot of it, yes, he makes plays, and I thought today he definitely made some more plays, and I was more impressed today necessarily than I was the other 2 weeks, just because of the chances he was having to take with the ball. But the thing, man, when I think of, this Kenny situation, obviously the hype train around him is there. You feel the energy. I was at Acrisure Stadium for the first half of the game. You feel the energy. Everybody is crazily excited about Kenny. They cannot wait for him to get out there. I just want us to be, patient with him. And I think that Coach Simon is going to take that approach, because could he come out there and play well? Absolutely. I don't think that I don't think it's as crazily of a difference whether you're talking Mason, Mitch, or Kenny being out there. I think that all three of those dudes can come out there and execute and help you win. But when you're talking about the adversity that's potentially waiting on them based on how this offensive line is playing, not in a living your fears element, but just in a, man, we're going to have some adversity. Give me the guy that's been there. Give me the guy that has already lived through this, where it's not going to have too much more of a negative effect on him. Whereas when you're talking about Kenny Pickett, this will be his first introduction once the regular season hits. Once you start getting those hits, once you start playing behind shoddy offensive line play, that has a ripple effect. That has the lasting effect. And now you start to see ghosts. And that's what I don't want to happen to Kenny. I don't care about any other stuff. I definitely think Kenny is going to be a good player. But when I'm looking at what we're seeing right now up front, to me, Mitch can go ahead and get this job done. Mitch has proven that he can be successful behind this offensive line. I just would say, man, if anything negative is going to happen in the first 4 weeks, I hate to put it on Mitch, but Mitch isn't the long-term investment. Kenny is. So let Mitch be the person to go out there early on and figure this thing out with this offensive line. Then once everything gets settled, I'm all for that transition to Kenny if it makes sense. But outside of that, I don't see why you don't put Mitch out there first coming into week 1 based on what we've seen in this preseason. But and then when it comes to Mason, I thought that Mason still had a really good preseason performance. I thought all 3 of his games, man, he showed some stuff. But at the same time, I think the writing's on the wall now. He's definitely the 3rd quarterback on this roster, and it'll be interesting to see with him, do they keep him as that 3rd guy, or do they potentially use him as leverage, whether we're talking movements, right? Not free agency, but like trades and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting just to see how they handle him. But at the same time, I could definitely see them in a scenario where they keep Mason as that 3rd quarterback. But, that's kind of how I felt about those 3 guys across the board. I'm trying to think who else stood out to me off the top of my head. Oh, can I talk about the freak TJ Watt? And first off, why is he out there that long? I was not a fan of him being out there that long. But if we're being real about it, I mean, TJ looks like he was in regular season form. The TFL early on, comes back, get us some another TFL. I mean, the productivity, it does not stop when it comes to TJ Watt. Love that. I just hope that, nothing's too serious in terms of the little knee injury that they talked about him having. And I'm trying to think who else went down. Deontay Johnson, obviously he got hurt on that 38-yard catch from my man Mitch. Definitely like that pass, definitely like that catch. Hopefully that's not too serious either. And then DeMonte Casey, of all people, I mean, he's been putting together a heck of a preseason, hasn't he? And then he goes down today. So I'm hoping that none of these guys, their injuries are significant where they're going to miss any amount of time. Now, we do have this new luxury where it's about, almost 2 weeks, essentially, of time before that regular season opener against the Bengals on the road. So we'll see how that thing goes. But with that being said, man, that was my first little bit intro. So I'm going to go ahead and check these super see what we're talking about. Also, while I'm doing this, make sure you're hitting the like button. All right. Like it up, like it up, like it up. And if you are not subscribed, make sure you do so as well. And don't forget that notification bell. All right. But yeah, man, undefeated 3-0. Let's go. All right, so let's see. We got my man Cal Monier. Shout out to the homie. He says we should keep Benny Snell, Anthony McFarland, and Jalen Warren, in my opinion. Well, yeah, man. I thought that Benny Snell definitely did some good things. I love how hard he runs, too, now, man. You seeing the consistency with him. When you talk about Anthony McFarland, he had a nice kickoff return. Just starting to see more of him being comfortable running in between the tackles. More of him just being comfortable being, a physical, or not physical, but some of the physical elements that come to playing running back in the NFL. I was definitely liking that. And Jalen Warren, he continues to look explosive to me. My only thing is I just don't know if they're going to keep all 4. I mean, I would love it, but I just don't know if they're going to do it, man. I definitely thought Jalen Warren, man, he continues to do nice things. He continues to impress. And that's the thing, man. When you're talking about a young guy trying to make a roster, you got to do some of those things. But I just think it's hard, man, when we're talking Jalen Warren versus McFarland and Benny Snell. I just don't know if he's done enough where you're willing to keep him on with the other 3, or if he's done enough to necessarily surpass Benny and Anthony. Because remember, it's not just them as RB2 or RB3. It's also the special teams element that they bring to the table as well. All right. Kyle Monier, he also says, yes, Kenny is great, but Mitch has played great too. I would definitely agree with that. I just wish that, everybody would acknowledge the fact. I think that it's one of those things, because we have our vested interests in these different quarterbacks, that you don't feel like you can praise the other guy if, you're trying to big up your potential root and interest. But I don't think you have to operate like that. I don't think you have to downplay Mitch to support Kenny, and I don't think you have to downplay Kenny to support or downplay Mitch to support Kenny, and vice versa. I think you can equally appreciate what both of these guys have done throughout the preseason, because I do think both of those dudes put together 3 extremely good performances where we saw different things from them that we hadn't known that they could do at this level. We saw them have to make throws and handle adversity that we haven't really been accustomed to seeing them do. And to me, I thought that they both did a lot to make us feel confident, either one of those guys, Mason included. But we just know in terms of Mason, I don't think that he did enough because he had the most ground to make up. Whereas when you're talking Mitch and Kenny, they had fresh starts in Pittsburgh. So that was the different dynamic right there. All right. Then after that, we got Sequoia Harris. What it do? He says, oh, gee, a win is a win. But, man, this O-line is terrible. Seriously. Not finishing on 3rd down is unacceptable. And we can get better against the run. No, you bring up a good point, man. O-line has to be more consistent, whether you're talking the run game or the pass game, or even the penalties. I mean, how many drives? I think of that second drive in particular when Mitch was at quarterback, and I'm just like, okay, you got the holding penalty. All right, now we got the false start. Okay, now we got the illegal procedure. Okay, now we got another holding penalty. It was just like so much of that. And with this offensive line, it's like, man, you guys can't play bad and be highly penalized. Those two things can't work together and expect us to be the team that we want to be, because when we're sitting here in this 3rd and 20, like, that's tough. Like, were we able to complete some of these 3rd and longs? Absolutely. But to try to live like that in the NFL going forward, that's extremely difficult to do on a consistent basis. So I don't recommend that. They definitely got to get a lot better. And then in terms of the defense, yeah, but in terms of them being better against the run, I think they will continue to be better against the run. I thought the linebacker play early on was a lot better. Shout out to Devin Bush. He made some plays out there today. That was good to see. Miles Jack still doing his thing. That was good to see. But in terms of the run, they're going to be more consistent, man. I just think for them as a whole, it's when they're rotating out. That's when we're experiencing that drop-off. And that's the part where I'm just trying to see, all right, how are they going to account for that? Because we know it's a long season, and you're going to have to rotate. You're going to have guys coming on, in and out of that field, especially when you're talking to D-line. That's the thing where we got to get all those guys playing at a certain consistency level. And hopefully, they'll continue doing that going forward. But the other thing that I did like was the fact that, hey, even though they were allowing some success on 3rd downs, even though they were allowing some success in terms of the ball being moved, they were very stiff in the red zone, not allowing a lot of touchdowns. We know that last one, when the quarterback flicks it, that's cool. But as a whole, you think about how this defense has played throughout the preseason in the red zone, they've been really good. So if it is, early on while we're trying to get everybody up to speed, you have a little bit of that bend, don't break, I think you can get away with that early. It can't be like that throughout the duration, because we're going to need this defense to be elite. But we understand this is a journey. You're not going to come out here week 1 and be that finished product. So that's the only thing that I'm thinking of with that. All right. Shout out to Diz333, just showing a little love. Salute you, Tyler Fowler, as well. Then we got Florida Made JB. What it do, partner? He says, Mitch, the starter. End of discussion. Yes, I feel, man. I think that Mitch definitely did enough throughout this preseason, and more importantly today, in the extended audition, that, yeah, he's QB1 going into week 1. That was my biggest thing when we came to Mitch, was just the lack, or the small sample size. It's like, man, we saw him for 2 series. Or, it's like, man, I want to see him longer than that. I want to see him in some adversity. I want to see him in situational football. So him getting that whole first half was really good to see, man. And just to see the ebb and flow of that, how rocky it was with the O-line, then how Mitch started to make some adjustments. But Matt Canada made some adjustments too, in terms of the schematics, in terms of getting the ball out a little bit faster, also taking some of the shots downfield, but doing them in a quicker manner. More so, just the 1, 2, 3, throwing that thing up, allowing these guys a chance to go out there and make a play, versus some of the longer developing plays where this offensive line was really struggling to, keep these quarterbacks clean. All right. And then Tyler Fowler also comes back and he says, Kenny, starter week 3 versus Browns, calling it now. I mean, I don't even know if I want you to be right or wrong, because my whole dilemma with that is I don't see a lot of scenarios that happen when quarterbacks switch in the season and it's like good stuff that's happening. You know what I mean? In the sense of, yeah, man, we're in contention, but we think we're going to be a good team this year. So I would expect us to be winning these games. That's my only thing. I'm like, man, are we going to be winning, but it's ugly? Are we winning and it's like we're winning in spite of this quarterback? I just don't know that dynamic. So for me, I don't need Kenny to start week 3. If Mitch is starting week 1, my ultimate goal is for Mitch to start the whole season, because that means that he's played well the whole time. If he's having to get swapped out, that means there's going to be some games in there where we're all as fans going to be doing what? Pulling our hair out, feeling sick to our stomach. We don't need that. That's all I'm saying, baby. But I like your idea, though. I like your idea. Cal Montier, he also says, Moneybag Mitch's preseason QBRs. 126, 85, and 119. Hashtag baller, hashtag QB1. Nah, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I like it. Now, I don't get big into those numbers and stuff like that, because obviously context does matter in terms of the sample size and stuff like that. We know that. But as a whole, man, Mitch has definitely shown, what he's capable of. He's shown why the Steelers went and picked him, in terms of when free agency started. Every quarterback was on the table for them. They chose him as soon as it opened up. And you can see why. But Same thing could be said with Kenny Pickett. It was a reason why they chose him in the draft, 20th overall. All the other quarterbacks were on the table, but they went with him. And you can see both of those decisions, so to speak, paying off, man. So I'm definitely liking that. Earl DeBow. Is that Earl DeBow? Oh, Earl DeBrow Jr. Says, hey, Moats, what it do, partner? Says, where is Calvin Austin? Man, I was down there. Calvin Austin was in street clothes, man. I don't know, because they don't have to give, in-depth, detailed injury reports during the preseason. We'll see. That obviously will change once the regular season starts. But yeah, man, Calvin's been out for 3 weeks now? Him and Alex Highsmith both went down around the same, practice time frames. I think it was probably like a day or two apart, if I remember. And yeah, man, we just have not seen him since then. So that's very disheartening. I think he's fine though, roster wise, just because you talk about what he was able to do in the short amount of time where he was at training camp. You could see some of the flashes, obviously the speed that he brings, but he has to get back out there. He has to get healthy, man. That has to happen, 100%. All right, give me another sip. And I hope y'all enjoying yourselves. I know I am, partners. Let's go. And for all y'all that were down there at Acashore Stadium, whoever the people that I did see, man, salute each and every one of y'all. Appreciate y'all pulling up on us, man. It was definitely fun, man. I know it was a scorcher out there. Holy smokes, though. Sheesh. But next up we have a man, Caleb Cole. He says, loved the active hands on the D-line tonight. Now, we definitely saw that, man. Yeah, without a doubt. I'm trying to think, man, some of the guys that stood out to me. The Young Davis brothers, man, late in the game, man. I like what I was seeing from them. Hamilcar obviously was able to draw a pass or a holding penalty on one of those rushes. But it was more so just the effort. It wasn't like a fantastic rush, but going to what you're talking about, converting the hands, man, being able to transition, run the pass plays and stuff like that and vice versa. I was definitely, I see what you're saying with that. And I'm ready to go back. I can't wait to go back and watch this tape to really deep dive into some of those dudes, man, seeing what, what they were doing. Because obviously guys like Mark Robinson and Buddy Johnson, they were flying around at times, but at the same time, I also thought they were a little fatigued, man. The heat, I think it was getting to them a little bit, but they also were playing special teams as well, so I know that was a part of it. But I want to go back and look at those two guys a little bit more. I definitely thought that they did some positive things, but I was like, man, I think they were getting a little tired out there. So that's definitely something I want to check out, man. All right. Then let's see. Q, he says, Canada's still having questionable calls. No, he had some of those without a doubt, but I complimented him earlier though, man. He did have some adjustments, and this is the second week in a row now where we've seen Matt Canada make specific adjustments. I'm just wondering how much, in terms of when we're watching the preseason, when I see the glimpses of him making changes and we're seeing the positive impact it's having, I'm just wondering how vanilla they're trying to be intentionally because of the preseason. So that's why I don't spend a lot of time really harping on some of the calls from Matt Canada I don't necessarily agree with, unless it's something egregious. Like the jet sweep last week against the Jags to Gunner. I was not a fan of that call on 4th and 2. Give me a different call. Give me something where my quarterback has a chance to run or throw. I don't like gimmicks on 4th down plays. But outside of stuff like that, I do understand the vanilla game plan that goes into the preseason, especially here in Pittsburgh. Some places is different. I've been in places where we literally go into a preseason game with 45 to 50 calls, and we got checks and hand signals. But then in Pittsburgh, it's like, man, we're going to call 5 calls. And I don't care about the matchup. I don't care how positive or negative it is for you. Go out there and make it work. So that's the other part when it comes to Matt Canada in this offense. I'm just like, part of it I feel like is that. But it's hard to give Matt Canada the benefit of the doubt because he's still trying to prove himself. This is only his second year as the offensive coordinator. We know last year with 7, it was a little bit different in terms of, was he held back by the quarterback or was the quarterback holding him back? Who knows? Yeah, up for debate. But either way, we will see what that looks like, man, going forward from him, though, man. All right. Yu Young. Man, I think I hollered at you earlier today. Maybe. I'm not sure. I think so. I think I heard the name right. But he says the Kenny Chance 3rd down conversion was nice. Nah, I definitely like that, man. Listen, man, Kenny is without a doubt the guy. Like, the energy is there, the spark, you feel it. Yeah, it's only a matter of time, man. It's only a matter of time, and that place is going to erupt whenever he gets his chance. It's going to erupt. But I'm just hoping that, hey, man, if it is Mitch early on, which I think it will be, that we don't have to make that switch anytime soon this season, because if that is happening, I'm just wondering what's the likelihood of us being highly successful during that time frame. That's all. All right. Then my man Elijah Boykin says, just showing love. Keep up the good work. And I salute you, man. I appreciate you, man. I do it for y'all. You know this. Ain't nothing better than me coming over here, get a chance to chat with y'all, man. Just talk a little ball, because it's what I love to do. And I know that y'all love it as well, man. So that's what makes it fun like that. And I see y'all hitting the like button. And if you have not, man, make sure you hit that as well, all right? All my subscribers that have not subscribed that you know you want to, hit that subscribe button too, baby. All right, CJ Rose. Would Eric Fisher make sense if healthy? Well, yeah, if Eric Fisher is healthy, he definitely makes a lot of sense. I mean, when you talk about what we've seen these past 2 weeks, obviously from Dan Moore, it's making us concerned a little bit, and rightfully so. Some of the things that Dan Moore was able to do last year, we talked about how Ben getting the ball out as fast as he was protecting Dan Moore at times. Now, it's the gift and the curse because, yeah, Ben was getting it out fast, so obviously the sack numbers were low, the pressure numbers were low. But the problem was he wasn't having enough time to stretch the field. So if we don't want to repeat that process, if we don't want to repeat that dynamic, we got to get better up front. And when you're looking at these guys who have been well or have been playing well, and some of the guys that have been struggling, and now you're looking at potential replacements, yeah, Eric Fisher does come to mind. Obviously, we talked about Jason Peters on the podcast a couple of days ago. I wasn't as much of a fan of Jason just because I think he's a little bit, obviously he's older, but I think he's a little bit heavier than I would like as my left tackle. But Eric Fisher, I mean, if he's healthy, yeah, he's a guy that, you know, if I remember correctly, Pro Bowler as well, man. Really good player, without a doubt, high pedigree guy. But the injury history is the big question mark with him. So I don't know, I haven't looked into his health specifically just yet, but that is definitely something that I'm sure Omar Khan is going to be kicking the tires on, man, because it's hard to feel at peace with the way this offensive line has looked these previous 2 games, man. It just hasn't been good, man. Has not been good. All right. Let me see. Samurai Finn. Oh, all right. Sorry, man. I know I get a little animated. It's football season, man. I'm having fun, baby. How can I not have fun out here, right? But my man, Samurai Finn says, Omar, please, God, we need a mediocre O-line at least. Yeah, you bring us some good points, man. On paper, they were supposed to be a lot better. Early on in training camp, I thought they were playing a little bit better. But right now, man, it's looking like last year in a sense, man. And at times a little bit worse just because, like, the amount of pressure that we're seeing, man, along with the penalties. So we definitely need them to improve in that aspect. But this is the tough part about this time of year. Now, we know we're going to get a big influx of players becoming available by, I think it's Tuesday, is when they have to make the big cuts down to 53 guys and stuff. So you're going to get a ton of guys out there, but when you're talking about those particular players, are they better versions? Are they better than a Dan Moore? That's what you have to ask yourself. Are they better than Kendrick Green, Kevin Dotson, or whoever else you would want to put out there? Are they better than a Mason Cole? Are they better than a James Daniel? You're not worried about James because you just paid James, so he's here by default. Now, he started slow before in his career. Obviously, he's still a very young player, so I do have more faith in him picking it up. I think Chooks has been one of our steady players thus far. Him and Mason Cole, I think, have been the most consistent. And then I think after that, it's been James Daniels. And then I'll probably go to Dotson. Then I would go James. But as a whole, man, those dudes, they all got to play better, man. 100%. All right. Ooh, the Rick Baker, the Rick Baker, 74. He says, I think some tough decisions are coming in the wide receiver room. Yes. Whew. The 3 that jump off the screen to me or that make it so difficult to move on from: Miles Boykin, Steven Sims. It's like, bro, how you can't move on from either one of them dudes just yet, right? Tyler Vaughns, like, come on, man. All 3 of them dudes on separate occasions. I mean, Steven Sims obviously did what he did today. Love the return ability from him, obviously, in game 1. And we know he had the big jet sweep. You talk about Miles Boykin going up and getting it. Now, we've seen him big boy catching guys, doing the stop routes, which are simply 5, 7, 10 yard sprint, turn around right on the dime, catching it. We've seen him doing that. But today, the back shoulder downfield, man, that's a different conversation now. And Tyler Vaughn's putting together another impressive performance. It's 3 in a row now for Tyler Vaughn. How do you just move on from that? How do you just say, nah, man, we good? Like, I like that a lot, man. But then when I'm thinking of, all right, who could this fourth guy be? I'm like, shoot, I've been enjoying what I've been seeing from Gunnar Olszewski. But my thing is, I'm asking myself in terms of the numbers. I'm like, okay, if I'm telling myself Deontay is here, Chase Claypool is here, and George Pickens is here, is Calvin Austin? Or is this fourth guy Gunnar Olszewski? Because whoever that isn't, well, now they're in this conversation when I'm talking about Tyler Vaughn, Steven Sims, and they going, oh my goodness, and Miles Boykins. So it's like, man, it's either Calvin in that conversation or it is Gunnar Olszewski in that conversation. It's going to be a tough room, man. That's going to be a tough one to start making them cuts in, man. Because there's certain players I don't think you're going to be able to stash on the practice squad. That's my other part. Calvin Austin, you think you can stash him on the practice squad? I doubt that. You know, Gunnar Olszewski, that's not happening. So now we're talking, all right, a Miles Boykin or a Tyler Vaughns or Steven Sims. Like, I don't know, man. I think that those dudes really made it tough on this coach staff. And as a player, that's what you want to do. You go in some of these situations, man, where you know, I mean, it's a crowded room. I got to make the best of the situation, and I might not be able to beat out somebody in here. But I want it to be one of them decisions where, yo, I hate the fact I got to let you go. And I want it to be another one of those things where as soon as you let me go, my phone is ringing because there's all these other teams that are watching that same exact tape and feeling the exact same way that we are right now as we're talking about those wide receivers. And they're going to say, you know what? If the Steelers let them go, we calling them up. And that's all you want, man. So you got to salute those dudes. But, man, I think that all those guys, man, they definitely did their thing. Like I said, Calvin Austin, he's the weird one to me. I think he's safe because of draft position and what he did in those first week and a half of training camp. But when you talk Steven Sims, Miles Boykin, Tyler Vaughns, Gunnar Olszewski, all of those guys at various points have been productive players in the preseason. Whether you're talking return game, whether you're talking as receivers, they have all shown certain things to make them intriguing. So that's going to be really interesting to see, man, going forward. But that also is why when we're talking about Jaylen Warren as that fourth running back, it's like, man, I don't know if you keep him over one of these receivers. Like, that's the stuff we talk about. Derek Watt, Connor Hayward, all these different positions where it's like, okay, I can keep an extra guy as a tight, I can keep an extra guy right here. I can keep this extra guy over here. That's fine. But these are the type of players that you have to move on from when we're talking about keeping an extra guy over here. So that's definitely one of those things that's going to be really interesting come Tuesday, man. All right. Bart Basquiato, what it do? Says, Moats, trying to get that. He says, yo, Moats trying to get that KG Crown Royal commercial. Nah, man. One of these days going to happen. But either way, it's all love. Manscaped and rock with me. So it's all good. Make sure y'all use that promo code MOST, get that 20% off as well. But nah, I salute you though, Bart. You know that. Then we got Eric Long. He says, what about that cat from the Patriots? Isaiah Wynn. Yeah, I think it's his name. Wynn, I think. Yeah, so with make sure it is Isaiah. Make sure I'm saying his name correctly. About to say, if I remember correctly, it should be. But I think it was a good player. When we're talking about, once again, what you have to give up to potentially get him. And actually, I'm going to pull him a rook. I just want to make sure, because I don't want to be talking crazy. Let's make sure we good. And that's the beauty of technology, right? Yes, because if I remember correctly, he should still be in New England. Yes. So, yeah, my big thing with that is, number one, what do you have to give up to get him? Because obviously he was a starter past 3 years, but I know he was hurt early on. Was that first year he was hurt? So let's see. Boom, here we go. All right, yeah, so with Isaiah, first year played 8 games, second year 10 games, then last year 16 starting 15 of those. Now, I do like the improved availability, but once again, for me, my biggest question mark when it comes to Isaiah, when it comes to, it was another guy we brought up earlier in the week that was on somebody's roster as well. What you have to give up for them, and are they a definitive upgrade over the person we have? My biggest thing when I think of Isaiah is I don't know if he's this big upgrade over Dan Moore. We know size-wise he's a little bit shorter of a tackle, and that's the other part that I remembered about him coming out. I think it's like around 6'2", 6'3 max. So he's definitely on the shorter side, and you can still have success with that. Obviously, in Pittsburgh, we've had Kelvin Beachum, short tackle, played left tackle for a couple of years. Now he's been out in Arizona doing his thing. So it's like you can get away with that, but that's my big, question when it comes to those type of moves like that. Because if he is this major upgrade and he's this proven starting left tackle, what do you think they're going to be trying to get rid of him? And if they are, do you think they're just going to give him away for crumbs? That's the other part. And that's why for me, I just don't think that, that's really going to be an avenue that we pursue. I think the Eric Fisher, the Jason Peters, I think that dynamic is a little bit more lively to me personally. Now, I did see somebody bring up my man Cam Sutton in the regular chat. Shout out to y'all as well. I see y'all. But with Cam Sutton, man, I was definitely liking what I saw from him, man. The interception. Shout out to the run after too, right? Now y'all see the difference. My man Justin Lane running into the traffic. My man Cam Sutton, he trying to get up out of there on them boys, man. I was really impressed with him, man. But when you talk about Cam, man, no surprise, right? Cam is extremely fundamental and extremely smart. He knows where he's supposed to be. He knows where his help is. He knows how to play. He knows where his limitations are as well. And even on the interception, it wasn't anything astronomical that he did, but he was perfect in terms of his drop. Zone drop, eyes on the quarterback, good depth. Quarterback tries to force it, and on the dig coming in behind him, hits him in the chest with the ball. That's what it's supposed to be in zone. You're supposed to have those eyes on that quarterback, and wherever he's going, he's going to take you to there. You just catch it. So I definitely like that, but also like the physicality that I saw from Cam, man. He's been one of those guys, man, where you could just continue to see him. He makes plays around the field, man, whether you're talking in coverage, whether you're talking around the line of scrimmage, TFLs. Like, he's one of those guys, man, and I just think that he's a heck of a football player, and I'm glad that he's here in Pittsburgh, man. I also like what I saw from McKellar. I love the physicality continuing to see from him. I will say this, though, coverage-wise, we do got to be tighter, though, man. I thought at times, and this does go back to some of these zone concepts that we've been playing a lot more of this year. It has natural soft spots, and this is typically why in Pittsburgh we don't do a lot of this like traditional like cover 3. We're a lot of cover 4, split safety. We matching routes. Everything looks like man. And if we're gonna play cover 3, it's a fire zone with it. You know what I mean? So even with that, you're still matching routes. So when we talk about the cover 3 that we've been seeing these past couple of weeks now, the soft spots are there, and that's the stuff where it does hurt us, so to speak, with some of these just natural open areas. I know with the film session I did with Mark Robinson, he made a heck of a play on some of this stuff, Robert Spillane as well, but it's like, man, it's a lot of zone. It's a lot of zone, like in traditional, like legit zone, eyes, landmarks and stuff like that. And that's fine, but I just think that in Pittsburgh, we like to match routes because, number one, we like to give our rush time to get there. And we feel like, man, if we challenging these receivers, that's going to give this rush, 3 seconds. That's all they need, 3 seconds. I can cover dude for 3. That's kind of the thought process here in Pittsburgh in terms of how we like to run our defenses. So this is a little different, but we'll see also because this is the preseason. So I don't want to just say this is Terrell Lawson's like staple, but it's one of the things where I'm like, bro, you ain't giving me a lot to work with right now, TA. So hopefully once the regular season starts, we will see them mixing it up a lot more. But yeah, I'm not a fan of just the true traditional zone drops that we've been seeing right now. Can't do that too much more, man. All right. Give me another sip. Now, what was your thoughts, man? I did want to talk a little bit about special teams, man. Boss lighting it up once again. Did not like the block field goal, though. Once again, man, that's offensive line related. When you talk about how you block that thing up, man, you got to be firm in your off hands, protecting your gap right here with your foot. Offhand, man. And it's one of those things when you see a guy jump through that B gap, that's the guard and that's the tackle. Both of those guys got to work better together. When I go back and watch the tape, I'll get the specifics on which particular player it was that was a little bit lacking. I believe it was that right guard. I wasn't 100%, so that's why I'm going to make sure I check it first. But you got to, it's 2 hands. That guard and that tackle, they got to work together. That's how it works, man. So I'll go back and check that tape. I'll give you a lot more information on that on tomorrow's podcast, stuff like that. But as a whole, man, I'm really enjoying our coverage units. I think that they're flying around. I think you're getting multiple guys getting hats to the ball, which is important. You're going to have guys that miss tackles. That's fine. Offense players playing on special teams. Cool. But you got to have those guys getting out there flying around. I thought they did that. Presley Harvin, I'm still liking what I'm seeing from him. This is really good in terms of just how he's continued to grow as well. But as a whole, man, I feel like it always comes back to this offensive line right now. And that's the part for me where I'm just like, I did not think after 3 preseason games, that we would have to talk about them in this manner. I was expecting it to be in a more positive light. But it's just one of them things right now, man. They got to get better. Watching Najee running, it was good to see Najee out there get a couple of touches as well. I thought he had some nice runs, but man, it was reminding me a lot of last year at times, man, where you're seeing him get hit behind the backfield. He's running into brick walls. It's like, man, we gotta at least have something we can hang our hat on. And that's the part for me where I'm just like, man, get these preseason jitters out. If we have to make some type of drastic change offensive line, okay. But we have to be able to run the ball better than that. We have to be able to protect the quarterback better than that, because otherwise it's going to be hard to see what we want to see from this offense. We got these skill players. George Pickens, once again, showing what he's capable of. Talk about Deontay. We know what he could do. He put that on display. We haven't even seen Chase this week. Remember, he was out. So it's like, man, when those guys are back out there, Pat was doing his thing. It's like, man, you want us to be able to have that time to utilize all these guys. You want to be able to turn around and hand it off to Najee Harris. But if this offensive line is playing as inconsistent as they have these past couple of weeks, it's going to make it very challenging for us to do that, man. So I'm definitely hoping that they get that thing figured out. Mr. Pat Meyer, come on, baby. Get them old linemen right, baby. Come on. We need it now. We need it. But let's see, man. See what we have over here. Some more supers just popped up. I appreciate each and every one of y'all that are with us as well, with me today, man. It means a lot as always. And like I said, we're going to keep these things going after every single game. All right? Every single game. And my upper room members, starting week 1 of the regular season, when we do these space talks, we will have a bonus Q&A session exclusively for you all right? Just for my upper room members, that'll be starting week 1. Just wanted to get that out there to you guys as a heads up, all right? But Elijah Boykin says O-line lacks urgency. Is that the problem? ... Coaching. I don't want to say that they lack urgency, because I do think that when I'm watching certain players out there, I'm like, no, I can see the urgency. I can see them, in the effort and stuff like that. But it's the popcorn theory. Okay, one play is this guy that's playing extremely hard and he's making his block. But now this guy getting his butt kicked. Okay. Now, this next play, this guy's playing really well. Now, he gets his block, but now this guy over here gets his butt kicked. And it's like that every time. So when you're talking about trying to evaluate him and you're asking yourself, man, is it technique? Is it coaching? Is it effort? Is it this? Is it that? I think it's a combination of all of it. Because when you're talking, okay, is this guy, is that guy, is that guy, is that guy? To me, that is a reflection of the coaching part, just because I think that, man, you got to have that unit a little bit more cohesive. Now, is it something where, you're asking these guys to do certain things that they're not comfortable with? Okay, if you're talking James Daniels and Mason Cole, that's fine. I do think some of the stuff in terms of what they're asking James Daniels to do might just be a little bit different for him than what he was accustomed to doing in Chicago. Same could be said for Mason Cole when he was in Minnesota. But I can't say that for Chooks. I can't say that for Dan. I can't say that for Kendrick Green. I can't say that for Kevin Dotson. And I want to say this. I do think that Chooks has been playing the best. I think that he's been our best dude. Him and Mason Cole, I think those two guys have been our most consistent offensive linemen. But as a whole, all those guys got to be better across the board. All those guys got to be more consistent across the board if we want this team to be as good as they could truly be. But the coaching element, I do think that is part of it. And I also think in terms of the players, it's not an urgency thing, but I think they just got to detail their work more. And what do I mean? I mean, it can't be these 3 good plays, 1 bad play, 2 good plays, 2 bad plays, 4 good plays, 1 bad play. Like, that's too inconsistent. And it's hard to trust that unit when they're that inconsistent, because you just never know. Okay, is it Dan Moore this play or is it Mason? Okay, is it James Daniels or is it Kendrick? Okay, is it Dotson or is it Chooks? When you're playing like that, man, that's a hard way to live in the NFL, man. So those dudes, man, they have to be a lot more consistent, man, without a doubt. But even with that, think about this. We still have seen really good quarterback play when we're talking all 3 of these dudes, but more importantly, we're talking about Mitch and obviously Kenny, because I think those are QB1 and QB2 going into week 1. I think that both those dudes show that they can still have success behind that offensive line. They still have that ability to escape. They still have that ability to stretch the field. They still have that ability to lead. So in all of those elements, it's like, man, I don't think that it's something that, man, the season is over. We don't have a chance. I just think it's going to be extremely difficult for us to be as successful as we want to be going forward now that the regular season is here. But they definitely, in terms of the quarterbacks, they've shown that, man, regardless of what this offensive line looks like, we are going to be able to do some things that we weren't necessarily available to them last year. So they're going to be all right. They'll be all right. But we got to get this offensive line fixed, though, whether that's in-house or going shopping, baby. All right, Calculated Snipe. He says, like how fast Kenny is playing / decision making. Yes, that is something that is definitely showing up a lot more with Kenny, and it's his natural progression, right? During OTAs and minicamp, got a chance to see him, like I said, every practice, right? And that was the knock. It was like, man, he's missing his reads. It's forcing him to hold the ball, and now he's having to play a lot more hero ball than you want him to play. Training camp starts, we say, it started to slow down for him. First preseason game, you saw what that looked like. Second one, saw what that looked like. So his progression is on point. It's right where they want him to be. I thought what he was able to do today was extremely impressive in terms of him stretching the field, because we hadn't seen a lot of that. All of the plays that we had really seen from Kenny were a lot of run after catches. Obviously, we know the Pat throw last week across the middle versus the blitz. That was impressive, but it wasn't a ton of stretching the field. Whereas I thought today he really, was intentional, taking shots, right side, left side. Even though they weren't complete, it was still good to see. And then when he obviously did complete something, it was like, all right, that's what we're looking for right there, man. But no, I'm definitely liking what I'm seeing from Kenny, though. Definitely liking that a lot. Yes. All right, so where we at? G. Alexander Wagwan, what to do, man? He says, oh, Wagwan, my youths. Alex Kozora had a good breakdown of on the technique on what he is asking the offense line to do. Like individual hand punch, not two hands at a time. Yeah, I mean, just depending on the different techniques, stuff like that, that's absolutely right. I still think, though, when it comes to some of this technique stuff, yes, that's part of it, but you still got to go out there and make plays. And that's the other part that I look at as well, man. Like, I get the whole dynamic of, all right, if I'm asking you to do it this way, okay, cool. But when you're out there on the field, and this is something that, playing as long as I did, man, you have different coaches that teach you a myriad of different techniques. Some of them work for you, some of them they don't. And the one thing that I learned early on was, man, if you're out there on that field, you go with what works for you. Because that coach, man, he talk technique and all this other stuff, but if that's not conducive to, or if that's not going to help you be a productive player, they're going to move on from you. Whereas if you're out there and it's like, yo, the technique isn't what we're teaching, but this guy's consistently getting the job done, it's a different conversation. They start saying, you know what? Maybe we need to go with this technique. Maybe we need to let this player be a player. So that's the thing that, when we're talking about the offensive line, I don't want it to get so enamored on this teaching the technique and stuff like that, because yes, technique is important, but at the end of the day, it's football. It's only so many techniques we're going to teach, and that's the part where it's like, man, you have to be better. You have to understand that part, and whatever is working for you, you go with that. And as a coach, this also pertains to coaches. You can't be stubborn. You can't be that guy that says, man, this is my way and it's my way or the highway. At the NFL level, it is not that way. No, it actually is a little bit of fluidity in this thing. Some give and take, because the players are more valuable than coaches outside of the head coach. But that's simply how it works. They'll get rid of that not a coordinator, but they'll definitely get rid of a coordinator first. But they'll get rid of that position coach that's teaching this technique before they get rid of these players. Just the money element of it. So that's the part where I'm like, man, if it is a technique thing, and that's something that we did say it could potentially be, well, then Pat, you got to be ready to make those adjustments as well, man. And that's just a part of, the professional level, man. All right. But let me think, man. I want to talk to somebody on defense real quick too, man. Miles Jack, dude. Once again, continuing to show me, man. Continuing to show that he's that leader out there. You see not just the productivity, but the pre-snap communication, man. He's one of those dudes, man, that I think is going to help us in a major way early on in this season, while we're still getting that thing settled out at that inside linebacker spot next to him. When I look at what Devin was able to do today, started off rocky. I'm not gonna lie, man. Him not being able to get off that block, I think it was on the, was that 3rd and 20 or something like that, on the draw plays, like, bro, you got to make that play. Obviously, we know in coverage, struggled a little bit early on too. But I like when he shot that gap. Like what I saw a little bit from Robert Spillane as well. Like I said, with Mark Robinson, he was flashing at times, man, but I thought him and Buddy Johnson just got tired out there. But to me, when I look at what Miles Jack brings to that table, to that position group, he is that calming force in the inside of this defense. He is that guy that is going to be able to do some things in coverage. I thought he had some nice, it was a nice drop he had on the backside. He was man-to-man against the running back. Ends up being like an incomplete, just like bad throw, whatever. But even if he would have tried to make it a nice throw and a completion, Miles is there, man. He's tackling everything. He's right on top of it, man. I definitely like what I'm seeing from him. And when you're talking about having a little bit of uncertainty at that linebacker spot next to him, or potentially when we're rotating that D-line, those outside linebackers, because that is the other part. Remember, it was no Alex Highsmith. So today, I want to say it was TJ and Tusker, they got the start, but Hamilcar was one of the first guys up. So it was times where it was literally Hamilcar and Tusker out there, TJ on the sideline. Then TJ comes back out there for one of those other dudes, whether it was Hamilcar or Tusker. So when you talk about potentially those type of dynamics in terms of the rotation, you're going to need a Miles Jack. You're going to need those calming presence, those, hey, I know what this guy's going to do. And that is what Miles brings to the table. And I thought he continued to display that today as well. But I definitely was liking that from him, though, man. 100%. And I believe this was, let's see, Life's a Beach. I know you said in terms of giving Devin Bush a little bit more time just so he could settle in. I mean, I get the time narrative, but it's like, man, how much time do you continue to give him when the play is as consistent as it has been for him? That's, the big hang up with Devin. And that's why, obviously, Robert Spillane is coming to the picture as much as he's done. I mean, even today, they were using him in a specific, like, dime linebacker role. He would sub in. It was, I forgot who we came in with. But he would come in and Miles and Devin Bush would come off. To me, that's still, that's only happening because of what Devin has allowed to happen. We talk about Mark Robinson and why he's such an intriguing player, potentially, pushing for time in the inside linebacker position or potentially starting at some point in time this season. It is ultimately because of 5-5 leaving that door open as long as he has. So I get the time narrative, but when you're at this stage of his career thus far, the time part, man, the clock is ticking, That ACL injury, it's another year removed now. You talk about that draft status, that's another year removed. You talk about everything they gave up on him, that's another year removed. So it's just hard, in terms of having that patience year after year after year, the further we go along with this thing, man. No. All right, let's see. All right, let me see. Y'all drop a name in there. Anybody y'all want me to talk about specifically? I'm not saying I'm going to look through here because I might have somebody else that I want to talk about. Where are you at? Oh, y'all talking about 80. Okay. Yeah, the young boy is Tyler Vaughns, man. Nah, he definitely was super impressive today, man. He continues to be, though. Man. The run after, I feel like every time he catches the ball now and he turns up, I'm thinking he's about to break one. Every time he does, I'm like, all right, we're going to the crib again? Nope. All right, not this time. But no, I definitely like him, man. My biggest concern, though, with him is just his frame. I think he's a little bit wiry, a little bit more wiry than I would like in terms of just the frame put him. But to me, man, he's definitely made it extremely tough on himself to get released. I think that he's done a heck of a job this preseason. And I think that this is what you want. When you're talking about what it comes down to between Tyler Vaughns, and Steven Sims, and Miles Boykin, and Gunnar Olszewski, and Calvin Austin, I think Tyler is very much in that conversation, man. 100%. You look at what you see when you see him 3 weeks in a row. Productivity, big catches, run after ability, physicality. He's checking off every box you want, man. And that's the thing for me, man. When I see him, I'm just like, I like that a lot. Definitely like that a lot, man. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting, man. Because that room, like I said, man, with that room, we know the top three definitively terms of Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, and George Pickens. But after that, I mean, if Calvin had missed so much time, maybe you're locking him up. But he's missed a substantial amount of time, and these other guys have made plays. So it's just like, man, I don't know. Everything is on the table to me, man. But yeah, man, definitely like what I saw from Miles Boykin. And Elijah Riley, man, shout out to Elijah Riley, man. The true definition of jumping on a moving train. My man, just what he got signed was a couple days ago, fresh off the flight practice. Then they have him with the double jersey on. I'm like, man, hit him with the little switch. All right, it's your jersey for the first half. Now I'm going to get it back to you in the second half, But yeah, man, I thought that Elijah definitely did some positive things out there, man. I like I think he had a nice PDU. Was that in the end zone? I can't remember if it was him. I know Carlins Patel had another one as well. I definitely continue to like what I see from him too, man. Because with Carlins, man, he's one of them dudes where you just see him make plays. He's always flying around the ball. He had the nice PBU in the end zone in the fourth quarter. The play literally before the little shovel pass for the touchdown. At first, when I watched, I'm like, man, it looked like it was just an incompletion, or the receiver dropped it. But as I look, you see Carlin Patel, his hand is ripping at that ball as it's coming down. To me, that's a heck of a job, man, technique-wise. We say if you're not in position to make the interception, or if this guy has position on you, you play through the hands. You don't turn around, look for that ball. You see his hands. When them hands go up, as soon as they go up, you shooting your hand there, you fighting like a son of a gun to rake that ball out. I thought that Carlos Patel did an awesome job of that in that end zone in that fourth quarter. I was really impressed with that. He's put together a nice preseason as well. I don't know if it's done. I don't think he's done enough to make the active roster just because he's a nickel corner. And when you're talking Arthur Milet, you talk Cam Sutton potentially in there, you talk Trey Norwood in there as well. Those are three dudes that we feel really confident in being in that slot. So even though Carlos, I like what he did, I think he's more practice squad early on, but I definitely want to keep him around though, man. Ooh, let's see. My man Joey Martinez says gonna need to use more DBs than linebackers or than inside linebackers. Now it could be a potential for that. When we talk some of these specialized packages, but you also have to remember, man, when you start getting too enamored with some of these smaller personnel groups, when you get too enamored with playing, the small ball on defense, so to speak, to match up, that's when you start getting teams saying, we're going to go spread you out, 11 personnel, right? One running back, one tight end, all wide receivers. Then we're going to run out of it, though. And that's the thing when you're thinking about how our offense could be with Najee, Pat Freiermuth, and then you have Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, and George Pickens out there, right? So you're going to have to play small ball. Now imagine a nickel corner trying to tackle Najee. Imagine that dime linebacker. You're going small ball, trying to tackle a Najee. That's what you don't want. So for us, we got to be careful with that as well. Because if that becomes something that we major in versus minoring in, teams will combat that with that. All right. Hey, Rod Dollar, I see you, Presley Harvin. Heck yeah, he had a good game, man. I thought Presley, man, did his thing in those two preseason games that he's had. We know he had a rough year at times last year, man. Both on and off the field, man. It was a lot emotionally on this dude. Rookie season, like the hype, the expectations, like heck yeah, man, it was a lot. But you look at how he came back, man, to end the season, man. Obviously in that playoff game against the Chiefs, I thought that he punted extremely well. All throughout training camp, he's done his thing. In these back-to-back preseason games, the Jaguars game, and then obviously this game, and I thought that Presley has really put together one of those preseasons where we feel good about him going into this season. I feel really good about our special teams unit. When you're talking about Boz, the kicker, you talk about Presley punting, and then you talk about our coverage units. I just think across the board, we have a really good unit right there, man, with multiple options in the return game, man. So I'm definitely liking what I'm seeing right there, man. But no, shout out to my man Presley, man. That's my dude, man. That's my dude right there. All right. Let's see. See anybody else coming in? Okay. I'll end it with this one. Christian Matthias says, what about Steven Sims? Man, I think Steven Sims did his thing this preseason, man. He's one of them dudes, man. I'm not going to lie. When we first started these games, I didn't have crazy high expectations for him, Because, yes, I looked at him as more of a speed guy, but my speed guy was Calvin Austin. So I was like, man, I don't really see the fit for Steven. He's a return man, but we got Gunner. He's an all-pro, so I was like, where's the fit? But I think that Steven definitely did a ton this preseason, man, whether you're talking as a returner, whether you're talking as a receiver, whether you're talking as a runner. We talk about the jet sweep that he did and stuff like that. I just think across the board, you saw the productivity, you saw the consistency, you saw the toughness, and you saw why he's going to be one of those dudes that's extremely tough to move on from. He's in that conversation with Miles Boykin, with Tyler Vaughns, with all them dudes I keep naming. Steven Sims is all the way in that conversation, man. Like, it's going to hurt me if he's not on this roster, but at the same time, I understand if they moved on from him. But it's like, dude, he did everything you wanted from him, man. Everything you wanted. And he plays fast. I love fast guys that play fast. And that's the thing that he does, man. So, we'll see how it goes, man. But to me, he made it really intriguing. When it comes to him and Gunner, and I know, I think I just saw, Thorough Buford 6789 says Steven Sims is better than Gunner or Shesky. I don't want to say better. I think they're different in terms of what they bring to the table. I think Steven Sims is more of the explosive, fast player, but Gunner, at times, you see where he's more polished in the return, and you see where he's more polished as they route runner on offense and slot and stuff like that. But the difference between both of these guys and their preseason performances, because I think both of them have done some positive things. One has a fumble. Because when it comes down to this type of stuff, you're splitting hairs. One put that ball on the ground. Steven has not. It comes down to little stuff like that when you're talking about how tight this race is with, these receivers as narrows. You think about that type of stuff. You're like, man, all right. Can I trust that? Is that a one-off? Is that a fluke? I don't know. We haven't seen it from Steven, though. Like I said, both of these dudes are productive with the ball in their hands, man. Both of those dudes, I thought, at various times, talking Steven Sims and Gunnar Olszewski, I think both of those dudes at various points this preseason, though, have really showed, more than we all expected from them. With Gunner as a receiver, with Steven just being out there in general, what he's been able to do with the ball in his hands, I think both of those dudes have been impressive. But if I had to make a decision today, right, as we sit here on August 28th, 2022, 8:47 p.m., I would probably go Steven. I would. Speed kills. I think he's been more explosive. I didn't have any concerns ball security wise, and I've liked the versatility as a return man, receiver, and running with the football in his hand. So if I had to choose between a Steven Sims and a Gunnar Olszewski, I would probably lean a little bit more Steven today. But that's just in the heat of the moment right now, right? So that's that, man. But, oh, man, it's been a vibe. Definitely has been. And shout out to each and every one of y'all, man, that have been with me today, man. Like I said, we keep these nice, quick reaction, man. We'll have the big boy show tomorrow on the podcast. Definitely tune in for that. But, yeah, man, this is a fun one. Fun preseason, man. Glad it is wrapped up 3-0. Feeling good about it. I know y'all feeling optimistic about it as well. So with that being said, appreciate y'all. And until next time, baby, peace.